China's top Taiwan negotiator has said a proposed free trade pact that has been condemned by Taiwan's pro-independence opposition will be a long process that can benefit both sides. Chen Yunlin was speaking in the central Taiwanese city of Taichung on the third day of his scheduled 5-day visit. The pact, formerly known as the Economic Cooperation Framework Agreement, or ECFA, is the centerpiece of Taiwan leader Ma Ying-jeou's signature effort to link the island's economy even closer to the mainland's lucrative markets. He says he hopes the pact will be signed in the spring of 2010. Since taking office in May 2008, Ma has eased tensions across the 100-mile-wide Taiwan Strait to their lowest level in 60 years. Chinese dissident Liu Xiaobo has gone on trial in Beijing on charges of inciting subversion of state power. Liu, a prominent government critic, could be jailed for 15 years if convicted. He has been in jail since 2008 after being arrested for writing a document calling for political reform in China. The EU, US, and rights groups say the trial is politically motivated and have called on Beijing to release Liu. A spokesman for the US State Department yesterday described the trial as uncharacteristic of a great nation. China has dismissed criticism of the trial as an attempt to interfere in its internal affairs. A verdict is expected by the end of the week. China's Vice Premier Li Keqiang has called for stepped-up efforts to deepen medical reform to make the country's medical service more accessible and affordable. Li urged health officials to speed up the building of an essential drug system and the reform of public hospitals. He also urged the authorities to take measures to reduce the cost of overpriced medicines. The vice premier, speaking at a meeting of the leading group for medical reform under the state, said public hospital reform was an important as well as difficult part of the reform process. China's Ministry of Commerce says it will impose temporary anti-dumping measures against imports of EU carbon steel fasteners. The ruling follows hot on the heels of an EU decision to extend import duties on shoes from China by another 15 months. China reacted angrily to that decision and said it would respond by taking action to protect Chinese companies. It says the country's carbon steel fastener industry has struggled to compete with imports from the EU. China imported more than 20,000 tons of the fasteners in the first 9 months of last year. They are used in the production of cars, electronics, and machinery. China's central bank has warned that the country's economic recovery is still weak despite improving conditions and said changes in its development model are urgently needed. The People's Bank of China also said it is studying ways to improve oversight of the country's financial industry and guard against excessive risk. Beijing is trying to reduce reliance on exports and investment by boosting domestic consumption, a key element of its more than $580 billion stimulus package. Economists say such a change is essential if China is to continue growing. China's growth rose to 8.9% from a year earlier in the third quarter after dipping to 6.1% in the first quarter as exports fell. But Chinese leaders say the recovery is not solidly established and have warned against complacency. Ford has agreed the terms of the sale of its Swedish business Volvo Cars to China's Geely. Ford said the deal will be finalized early next year ahead of completion soon after Easter. Ford put Volvo up for sale a year ago to help pay off its debt and make its business more focused. Geely was named preferred bidder in November. If completed, it will be the largest purchase by a Chinese car firm. A convicted mob boss was executed in Chongqing municipality yesterday. He was the second gang leader put to death in a recent crackdown on organized crime and mafia-style gangs. The Supreme People's Court approved the death penalty for Wang Xinping. Wang had earlier been found guilty of heading a mafia-style organization and committing a string of crimes, including murder, drug dealing, illegally trading of firearms, running casinos, and offering bribes. And that's the BON headlines for now, but we'll be back with more news after this.